All right, let's just jump right in. The world of AI is moving so fast, right? It feels like every single week there's a new model, some new tool, a whole new debate. It can be a lot. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to look at the massive engine that's driving AI forward, see how it's actually changing the way we work, and then get into the personal toolkit that you can start using, like right now. Ready? Let's do this. Okay, so to get us started, I want to throw a number at you, just to put things into perspective. $1.3 million. Get this, that's the estimated cost in pure computing power just for the final training run of a big model like Google's Gemini Ultra. That's not even counting all the trial and error, the research, the development runs that happened before. I mean, that's the kind of scale we're talking about here. It's massive. And that really brings us to the big question, right? It's the whole point of this explainer. With all this money, all this brain power, all this raw computing muscle getting poured into AI, what are we actually getting out of it? What can these things really do? Well, to answer that, we've got to start by looking under the hood. Let's talk about the engine that's deriving all this incredible progress, the world of AI research and development itself. You know, for decades, if you had a big breakthrough, you'd publish it in a traditional academic journal or present it at a conference. And yeah, those are still growing. But the real explosion, that's happening somewhere else entirely. We're seeing a massive surge of AI papers on open platforms like Archive. What that means is research is getting shared way faster and way more openly than ever. It's just accelerating the pace of innovation for everybody. And this progress has been so fast, so fast, that we're actually running into a pretty wild new problem. The models are literally breaking the tests. We're seeing something called benchmark saturation. Now, benchmarks are just the standardized tests researchers use to see how smart an AI is. So the big question now is, are the models hitting a wall, or are the tests just too easy now? Do we need to invent brand new, harder tests to even measure what comes next? Just look at these results. They're pretty stunning. On HumanEval, which is a really tough coding challenge, a model recently scored a perfect 100%. That's better than the top human experts. And then you've got the Visual Common Sense Reasoning Test, or VCR, where a model finally hit a score of 85, matching the human baseline for the very first time just this year. So we're not talking about tiny little improvements here. These are huge, massive leaps. But, it's not always such a simple success story. As these models get more and more powerful, we're hitting some really tricky issues, like benchmark contamination. Basically, this is when the questions from the test accidentally get mixed into the AI's training data. It's like the AI got to see the answer key before the exam, and that can totally give us a misleading picture of how smart it actually is. So the bottom line is, just measuring how good an AI is getting way, way harder. Okay, so we have these incredibly powerful models, even if they're a little hard to measure sometimes. The real question is, how is this tech actually being put to work? Let's switch gears and look at the business world and see how this engine is creating some serious economic value. And look, this stuff isn't just a toy for the big tech giants anymore. Not at all. We're seeing companies across all sorts of industries adopting generative AI to solve real, everyday problems. Software engineering is leading the charge, no surprise there, using AI to write and fix code. But right behind them, you've got marketing and sales creating content, and service teams improving customer support. AI is quickly becoming a core part of how modern businesses get things done. And here's a fantastic example of how they're doing it. Companies are using platforms like Airtable, for instance, to let their own teams build custom AI apps without needing to be expert coders. Think about that. Instead of waiting months for some new software tool, they can literally create complex workflows just by talking to the AI, putting that intelligence right into their day-to-day work. And I think this quote from a head of content strategy just nails it. It really gets to the heart of the impact. It's all about speed. It's about agility. For the first time, businesses can build systems that change as fast as the business itself changes. And trust me, that's a problem that has been a huge headache for companies for decades. All right, so we've seen the big picture engine and we've seen how businesses are using this stuff, but what about you? What does this mean for you personally? Let's zoom right in and talk about the practical AI toolkit that you can actually use every single day. First up, let's talk about AI assistants. You know, chatbots. But really, think of them as your creative partner. This is a tool that can help you write, do research, fix your code, or even just brainstorm ideas. We are way beyond simple question and answer bots now. So which one should you use? Well, it really depends on your workflow. If you want a super flexible, do-it-all assistant that's great for creative writing, helping with code, and even making images, ChatGPT is probably your best bet. But if you live and breathe inside the Google ecosystem, Gemini is built for you. It can dig through your Gmail, organize your docs, analyze your sheets. It acts like a real personal assistant that already knows your stuff. Okay, next up in the toolkit, AI image generators. These are the incredible tools that can take a simple sentence you type and turn it into a stunning, complex picture. It's basically bringing your imagination to life visually. And again, the right tool really depends on what you need it for. If you just want pure speed and super photorealistic images, Google's Imagen is a fantastic choice. But if you're a professional designer, Adobe Firefly is an absolute game changer. Why? Because it's trained on commercially safe content, which means you don't have to worry about copyright issues. Plus, it plugs right into the Adobe apps you already use, like Photoshop. And finally, let's tackle a problem that I think we all have: trying to remember exactly what was said in a meeting. Well, AI meeting assistants are here to be your perfect memory. They capture all the details so you can actually focus on the conversation instead of just taking notes. Jamie is a really great example of this. And what's so cool about it are the features that solve the things that really annoy us. It records privately in the background, so you don't have some creepy bot joining your call. You get a polished summary with clear action items just minutes after the meeting is over. And this is huge. It's built for privacy. It's GDPR compliant, and it doesn't use your private conversations to train its AI. That's a big deal. Okay, so we've got this incredibly powerful engine, and we have this amazing new toolkit. But all this rapid progress also means we have to face some really big, really complex new challenges. And this isn't just about the tech anymore. This is about us. It's about society. One of the toughest nuts to crack is bias. What research shows again and again is that even when developers try their best to train these models to be fair, they still soak up and reflect the subtle, hidden biases from all the data they're trained on. It's a really deep and difficult problem. I mean, how do you build a totally neutral system using data from a world that isn't neutral? And you can see this in action right here. On the left, that's implicit bias. A model like GPT-4 associates the name Ben with words like professional and management, but it links Julia with wedding and family. Now, look at the right. That's the same kind of technology being used to create a totally fake image of a Starbucks cup to suggest the company was backing a candidate in the Mexican presidential election. It's a textbook case of political misinformation. And while all that's going on, another huge challenge is bubbling up. The massive pools of public data that these models need to learn from, what some people call the data commons, well, it's starting to shrink. More and more websites are basically putting up walls to stop AIs from scraping their content. And the scale of this change is, honestly, it's startling. In one major data set, the amount of web data that's now restricted shot up to 33% in just the last year alone. And this could have massive consequences for the future of AI. We're talking about everything from the diversity of the data to how well the models even work and whether we can keep them aligned with our goals. So this really brings us full circle, doesn't it? We've got this technology that can ace our toughest tests. It can supercharge our businesses, and it can be a creative partner in our daily lives. But at the same time, it reflects the messy, complicated parts of our world. It opens up new doors for misinformation, and the very data it feeds on is changing under our feet. So the final question, it really isn't just for researchers. It's for all of us. As AI gets woven deeper into the fabric of our lives, how do we balance its incredible, undeniable power with our collective responsibility to guide it wisely?